The Sandbar Fight, a clash of honor, grit, and legend. The Sandbar Fight of September 19, 1827 near Natchez, Mississippi is one of the most storied events in the annals of American frontier history. What began as a formal duel between two gentlemen soon spiraled into a chaotic and bloody confrontation, marking the emergence of Jim Bowie as an enduring legend of the American wilderness. This violent episode, set against the backdrop of an untamed and volatile frontier, illuminates not only the cultural values and personal rivalries of its time, but also the grit and resilience of the individuals who shaped this turbulent era. The frontier, a world of opportunity and danger. In the early decades of the 19th century, the United States was a nation in the throes of transformation. The Louisiana Purchase of 1803 had opened vast expanses of land, enticing settlers, entrepreneurs, and opportunists to venture westward. This westward push carried them into territories that were both promising and perilous, where the rules of law were tenuous at best, and survival depended on resourcefulness, adaptability, and often sheer physical might. The Mississippi River played a pivotal role in this expansion. Flowing over 23 miles, from Minnesota to the Gulf of Mexico, it was a lifeline for trade, transportation, and communication. Towns like Natchez, perched on its banks, became bustling hubs of commerce and culture. These settlements were as diverse as they were dynamic, populated by Native Americans, European immigrants, enslaved and free African Americans, and settlers from the eastern United States. However, this diversity also bred tension. Competing claims over land and resources often erupted into conflict, and personal disputes could escalate into deadly encounters. In this environment, the Sandbar Fight was far from an isolated incident. It was emblematic of the frontier's volatile nature, where personal honor was fiercely defended, and violence was an all-too-common means of conflict resolution. Dueling in the American South. The code of honor, the practice of dueling, deeply rooted in European tradition, found fertile ground in the American South. By the early 19th century, dueling had become a ritualized way for gentlemen to resolve disputes and defend their honor. Despite its illegality in many states, it persisted as a socially sanctioned practice among the elite, who viewed a willingness to duel as a sign of integrity and courage. The rules governing duels were codified in guides such as the Code Duello, which outlined the proper conduct for issuing challenges, selecting weapons, and engaging in combat. According to these rules, duels were highly formalized events, often attended by seconds, witnesses, and even spectators. The aim was not always to kill, but to demonstrate bravery and resolve. However, the outcomes were unpredictable, and many duels ended in death or serious injury. The Sandbar Fight began as such. A duel. Dr. Thomas Maddox and Samuel L. Wells III, two prominent men of Natchez, had reached an impasse in their feud. Their decision to settle matters on a sandbar in the Mississippi River would have far-reaching consequences, setting the stage for one of the most infamous brawls in American history. The duelists Maddox and Wells. Dr. Thomas Maddox was a well-regarded physician, known for his skill and dedication. However, his professional reputation did not shield him from personal conflicts. His relationship with Samuel L. Wells III, a wealthy planter and influential figure in Natchez society, had deteriorated over time. The exact cause of their feud remains unclear, though contemporary accounts suggest it may have involved a mix of business disagreements and personal slights. Wells, like Maddox, was a man of standing in the community. His decision to engage in a duel reflected the cultural norms of the time, where a man's honor was paramount. To ensure the duel was conducted fairly, both men enlisted the help of seconds, individuals who acted as intermediaries and oversaw the proceedings. Among Wells's party was Jim Bowie, a figure whose reputation as a frontier adventurer and fighter was already growing. From frontier trader to legend by 1827, Jim Bowie was no stranger to conflict. Born in 1796 in Logan County, Kentucky, Bowie was raised in a family of pioneers who moved frequently in search of opportunity. His upbringing on the frontier instilled in him a deep sense of resourcefulness and resilience as a young man. Bowie pursued various ventures, including land speculation, logging, and the slave trade, all of which were lucrative but fraught with risk and controversy. Bowie's reputation as a fighter was well established by the time of the Sandbar fight. He had survived numerous altercations, including a bitter feud with Major Norris Wright, a banker and sheriff in Natchez. The enmity between Bowie and Wright stemmed from a land dispute, but had escalated into a personal vendetta. Wright had once attempted to kill Bowie, firing a shot at him during an argument. The bullet struck Bowie's chest, but was deflected by a coin pouch he carried, leaving him shaken but unharmed. This near-death experience only deepened Bowie's determination and his mistrust of Wright. Bowie's weapon of choice, a knife designed by his brother, Resin Bowie, was a testament to his practical and lethal approach to survival. The Bowie knife, with its long, heavy blade, was ideal for both combat and utility. It would soon become an iconic symbol of American frontier life. The Bowie knife, a tool-turned-icon. The Bowie knife was more than just a weapon. It was a reflection of the frontier spirit. Its design was simple yet effective, with a blade long enough to serve as both a tool for everyday tasks and a formidable weapon in close combat. The knife's versatility made it an indispensable companion for pioneers, hunters, and soldiers alike. Jim Bowie's use of the knife during the Sandbar fight would elevate it to legendary status. Its association with Bowie's name ensured its place in American folklore, and its design would be emulated and refined for generations to come. The Bowie knife became a symbol of self-reliance and toughness, qualities that define not only Jim Bowie, but also the era in which he lived. The Sandbar, a stage set for violence. The duel between Maddox and Wells was scheduled to take place on a sandbar in the Mississippi River, a location chosen for its neutrality and seclusion. The Sandbar, a strip of land exposed during low water levels, provided a natural arena for the confrontation. On the morning of September 19, 1827, the two parties gathered there, accompanied by their seconds and a small group of witnesses. The duel began according to custom, with Maddox and Wells exchanging pistol shots at a predetermined distance. The first round of fire proved inconclusive, as both men missed their targets. A second exchange followed, but it too ended without injury at this point. The duelists declared a truce, ostensibly resolving their dispute without bloodshed. However, the truce did little to ease the underlying tensions. Among the onlookers were individuals with their own grievances and rivalries, including Jim Bowie and Norris Wright. It was this volatile mix of personalities that turned the duel into a deadly melee. The melee chaos and carnage, the precise sequence of events that led to the melee, is a matter of historical debate. Some accounts suggest that Robert Crane, a supporter of Maddox, fired the first shot, wounding Richard Cooney, a member of Wells' party. This act of aggression set off a chain reaction. As other participants drew their weapons and joined the fray, gunfire erupted across the Sandbar, creating a scene of chaos and carnage. Pistols, swords, and knives were wielded with deadly intent, as men fought for survival amid the swirling clouds of smoke and the cacophony of shouts and gunshots. The Sandbar, once a neutral ground for a gentlemanly duel, became a battlefield soaked in blood. Jim Bowie's heroic stand, Jim Bowie's actions during the melee, became the stuff of legend. Despite being shot multiple times, once in the chest and once in the thigh, Bowie refused to surrender. Bleeding and weakened, he continued to fight, wielding his knife with devastating effect. One of the most dramatic moments of the fight occurred when Bowie faced Norris Wright, his longtime adversary. Wright, armed with a sword cane, saw an opportunity to finish Bowie while he was on the ground. As Wright lunged, Bowie seized him by the lapels and plunged his knife into Wright's chest, killing him instantly. This act of sheer determination and survival would become the defining image of the Sandbar fight, solidifying Bowie's reputation as an indomitable warrior. The aftermath, a bloody reckoning. When the dust settled, the Sandbar was littered with the dead and wounded. Among the casualties were Norris Wright and Alfred Blanchard, another participant who succumbed to his injuries. Several others, including Jim Bowie, were gravely injured but survived. The brutality of the fight left an indelible mark on all who witnessed it. News of the incident spread quickly, carried by newspapers and word of mouth. For Jim Bowie, the fight was a turning point. His heroism and the deadly efficiency of his knife captured the imagination of the American public, transforming him into a larger-than-life figure. The Sandbar fight was more than just a violent confrontation. It was a microcosm of the American frontier's culture and values. It illustrated the importance of honor and reputation, as well as the lengths to which individuals would go to defend them. It also highlighted the lawlessness of the frontier, where disputes were often settled through force rather than legal recourse. For Jim Bowie, the fight marked the beginning of his ascent to legendary status. His exploits in the years that followed, including his role in the Texas Revolution and his heroic stand at the Alamo, would cement his place in history. The Bowie knife, meanwhile, became an enduring symbol of American toughness and ingenuity. The Sandbar fight remains a vivid example of the complexities and contradictions of frontier life. It was a world where violence was both a means of survival and a measure of character. A world that shaped the nation's identity, even as it exacted a heavy toll on those who lived within it.